Okay, so first up, I'm going to drop a sheet, and you guys are probably have seen this. Okay, so this sheet is this guy right here. It's probably a glare, so let me take it out. So this is your 5-pillar worksheet. Okay. Oh, hold on, I gotta let someone in. So your 5-pillar worksheet. If you in the chat, let me know if you have seen this. If you have not, do not feel bad. Okay. We're going to use this tonight. We're going to do this together. If you've already done it, guess what? We're revamping because we're in a new season where I like to do this every 4 months. So on the 5th month, I like to revamp things because life happens, we grow, we discover things, we kind of get new goals and dreams and all the things. All right. But sometimes things stay the same, but you can start sharing things in a different perspective. Okay. So first up, let in the chat, if you want to get a piece of paper, pin out your phone in the notes. I usually like to do it on my phone because I have it in one place, but if not, don't feel bad. Usually I know with Laurel, she has this big, huge, if you ever been to her house, she has this big, huge whiteboard. It's definitely an inspiration that I definitely want to, because it's just right there and it's super simple and you're always visualizing. Okay, so when it comes to branding, everybody has this idea about it. I want you to know it's what you want it to mean. Okay, but then at the same time, you have to think, is this serving my person? Because it's not about us. Okay, so the content that we're putting out, yes, we're sharing part of our story, but then at the same time, how are we helping, showcasing to someone else what we have to offer them, the things that we have in our hands that can help them? Okay, so that's how we showcase things into our content. But then at the same time, how are we able to grab people? How are we able to get people around, right? We have like this five to 10 seconds to get people's attention. So how do we do that? It starts with how our pages, our social media, what it looks like, what our bio is, the content that we have showing case on there. What are our highlights? Are you using the highlights? We're going to go all over this. Okay. So first up, branding, AKA what makes you you. Like, who is she? Are you a mom? Are you working? Are you going to college? Are you a corporate job? Like, what makes you? Okay, so in the chat, name one thing that makes you. So like for me, an example kind of shifted a little bit. I'm a working 9-to-5 mom. So that kind of narrows down into a group. Now I could say I am a chronic illness mom that works a 9-to-5 job. See how like I kind of get narrowed a little bit more down into that person that I'm talking to, versus saying, well, I'm a mom. Okay, so what kind of mom are you? There's all types of moms out there, right? Or like, you don't have kids. Okay, so do you work? What kind of line of work do you do? What are your hobbies? What's your passions? Do you like to work out? What type of workouts do you like to do? You can start thinking about those things. Okay, so kind of narrowing down, because this sheet is basically your blueprint to your content. Okay, so I want you to make sure to like really feel this out. We're going to go into the next one. All right, so keep thinking about these things. Okay, the next one is 5 reasons you need to thrive. 5 reasons you need to thrive. I, for myself, biggest one for me was energy. That's one that I probably have showcased it the most on my social media, and people get attention to that because people want energy. People are constantly chasing after the coffee, chasing after the energy drinks, thinking that something's working, but in reality, it's just a habit that our minds feel that it's working. In reality, it's not. And that's definitely a case for me. I was a 1-pot kind of coffee mom, and I thought it was giving me energy until I tried Thrive. In reality, I didn't know what energy even felt like in the last 10 years. So for me, that moment was very emotional for me because I thought I knew what energy felt like, even though I deal with fatigue, but I didn't realize what that energy was because I didn't have it for a long time. The second one for me was financial. I wanted to be able to pay for my daughter's dance. I wanted to be able to pay for the gas. Gas was practically almost $6 a gallon. And my daughter wanted to start doing these things. So that was something that I wanted to do to take off of my husband's plate, because it was funny. Logan and I were talking about it today. He had to work so much overtime. So his job, he has to do mandatory overtime anyways, but he was exceeding that even more just to be able just to give a little cushion. We weren't saving. There was no such thing. We were still paying half of a mortgage on our house, including paying for our rent here. So things were just like tight all the time, paycheck to paycheck. And I wanted to be able to relieve some of that, to be able to have my little girl to go dance. That's where it started for me. And wherever that starting point is for you, write that down. Okay. And don't be afraid to share that, because in reality, there is another woman just like you out there who needs to hear this from you, because you are more relatable to her than someone like me. Does that make sense? Your people are out there. It's just you have to be like bold enough to start sharing those things that they need to hear. The things that you tell yourself inside, those are the things that you need to share. Those are the things that are relatable. Not saying, oh, I have this, it gave me energy, you need this. Okay, well, why? Why do I need this? What's so special about this? Like, people talk about energy all the time. So you really have to break that down for them to understand why thrive. Why do they need this? The other thing for me was purpose. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I wanted something that I don't want to say like bring to the table, but I wanted something that I was proud of, to like take my husband along with me. And like with his job, he takes me with him where like his training and all of his people. And I wanted that I got to bring him. So it was awesome to be able to bring him to Mexico. It was awesome to be able to bring him to Denver. And there's going to be so much more. So you have to get really in depth with this. You can't be vague. Okay. Next one, who were you before Thrive? This is such a good one. I used to do this, and I was actually talking to Laurel about it, and I was actually telling Logan about it, that I used to do, well, and Kathy too, I used to do these live before Thrive, like live videos. And when I did mine with Kathy, when she very first started, it was so relatable. Like, people were asking questions, and we didn't go on there to sell Thrive. Okay. We went on there to share our story, why we got into this in the first place. And we left it as that. And so when you kind of put information out there and not expect something in return, it goes a long ways, because you have to shift the mentality around, okay, if I do this, what's in it for me? Okay. I was telling Laura, I've been reading David Goggins, his second book. And if you haven't read his books, I highly recommend them. But he was talking about how in today's world, a lot of people are, okay, if I do this, what's in it for me? Versus how can I serve someone else and do some good in this world, in someone else's life? How can I help someone? And our products do it for, like, our products speak for itself, right? We don't really have to talk like people really into it. We can show people's social proof of people's comments. If you're not doing that, I definitely recommend it. But here's the thing, you have to, we're going to get into this a little bit more, but really dissect up what our products, which ones, 3 steps, HTS, balance, whatever that key component is, and really fixate on that. Doesn't mean that you're not going to sell anything else. Okay. I'm just saying, building consistency with a product that you are obsessed with. Definitely 3 steps, right? So being consistent with it doesn't mean you can't share anything else, but when you show that consistency, people have that trust within you versus like someone like over the weekend, Courtney was sharing a lot of insight about confusing your audience. So meaning someone is like, oh, like I getting extensions done, nails done, Gucci purses, whatever. And the next month, okay, I'm taking my extensions out. I'm going all natural and doing it confuses your audience. So figuring out that consistency, figuring out who you are, what is your brand, right? So if you don't know where these sheets are, they are in the Relentless Ambition and the Grace on Fire guides. So if you need help where they're at, we can tag you in them too. But I'm gonna pull up my phone real second. Okay, so I dropped this in my team chat and I thought it was a great reminder. So we're gonna get going into, we're gonna start with stories because I like stories for the fact that that's where people can get to know you. That's where you can use to help build that trust with your audience, and they can hear your voice and they can kind of see the behind the scenes. But the thing is, if you're not showing that, then they're not going to be able to get to know who you are. And I get that it can be very intimidating and scary and not know what to talk about. I'm going to be completely honest. When I wake up the next day, I'm like, okay, what are we talking about today? And then I'll sit there and I'm like, crap, I have no idea. Okay, like, let me get some ideas. Like, how did yesterday go? How today's going? What am I feeling? I really get going with like podcasts and music. So whatever I'm kind of feeling that day is kind of the direction I'm just going with it. I used to plan. There's nothing wrong with planning, okay? But for me, one, it overwhelmed myself. I have a too crazy hectic schedule that being able to kind of figure out things, it's just not in the moment right now. Don't mind Mishka, she's messing up with my life. But yeah, Logan just got my sidetracked. He's killing me. Don't mind me. But so first off, hey Hattie. Sorry guys. Okay, so Brock Johnson, if you guys don't follow him, he's been putting out some really good tips. So this one that I dropped in there really got me thinking, because I used to do the same thing. So if you're doing this, you're not alone. I catch myself doing it and I'm like, crap, like I said it. But it's getting out of that habit and catching yourself and reprogramming your brain. So he gave tips on the stories, things not to say. So have you guys, I've like nods. Did anybody watch that today? What he dropped? Yeah. Okay. So first one is saying, don't say, hey guys. The other one, everyone's been asking, wanting for more people to join, just popping in. I'm obsessed. Good morning, Instagram. So I've noticed this when I see someone else doing it, I'm like, oh gosh, like they're not talking to me, like they're talking to everybody. Like I'm in this big, huge group of people and they're not really talking to me. And when you narrow it down to like, hey, using the word you goes a long ways, because remember, we talk about all the time, you're talking to one person. When you're talking to the whole crowd, your message is just going to go away, right? So I kind of put in there, like I said, you're talking to one person. And the second one I put is, you do not have to give a reason on why you're sharing something. Okay, just come out and say it. You don't have to be giving, I don't want to say an excuse, but giving a reason why you're sharing something. Just say it. And And the other one is get to the point of what you're talking about. People can kind of snip out like, okay, like get to the point. Like, I know you, like you're trying to like say something and you're coming in this roundabout way. And what do people do? They click off. They stop watching. They don't want to watch your stories anymore. So in a sense, it can be really scary. I definitely know that. And it can be definitely weird because you see yourself talking. You're just seeing yourself. You're not seeing other people. So it feels weird, right? But I promise you, the more that you do it, the better that it gets. And if you feel, well, sometimes I have to re-record myself multiple times. You're not alone. I still do it. Still do it. So don't feel that one and done. People are getting like pretty quick with this. Everybody deals with it. Okay. So the next one I wanted to go on was bios. So if you've ever seen my bio before, I change it. So I have probably revamped my bio probably 3 times this year, and is because I'm learning more about who I want to talk to, kind of digging more into the things that I want to share about versus what I feel like I need to be talking about. And that doesn't get anywhere. So in the chat, who would like to have feedback on your bio? Like anybody. So the first one that pops up, I will click on your bio and we'll kind of go back from that. Okay. All right. Okay. So Reese was the first one. So I'm going to go to Reese. Okay. So we're going to go into like bios, picture, and then we'll kind of go into the link because that's within the bio. So if you can get it on your phone, well, actually, I bet I can share my screen. Hold on. So you guys can see. Kind of make it a little bit more of a presentation so we can kind of do this together. Okay, so I should be able to share. Just 1 second. Should be this one. Oh, yay. Okay. Can everybody see that? Yes. I'm checking the chat. Yeah, heads. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, hooey, where'd it go? Hold on. There we go. Okay, so here's Reese. One thing that I really like is her picture. So one thing that I noticed and I learned really quickly recently is if someone has a color in their background, it usually screams network marketer. And I definitely had noticed that. So I revamped mine. I like how close it is because people can see her face. It's very bright in the background, which it doesn't make it very distracting. And it's bright. You can see her picture. So definitely I love that. So when it comes into the bios, okay, so one thing is I've learned is the SEO. Does anybody know what I'm talking about with that? You can drop it in the chat. So SEO on Instagram. So basically what it is, it's a searchable engine. So it's kind of like Google. So they kind of revamped Instagram so you can find content pages a lot easier by going into the search bar, because you can never do that before. So you can type in what's one, like plants, house plants, and it'll pull everything up from that and people's pages. But how they pull that is in your name bar right here. So something that I would recommend is putting in where it has your name, Reese, and putting things in there that make you. So for an example, I'm going to go to mine so you can have an example. So as you can see mine, so I just started running, right? So MS, and I put mother runner because I thought that was kind of funny and catchy. So I put that in there. Nutrition, and I'm a cop wife. So when people search like cop wife, I'm going to pop up on there. Or if they type in MS, my page is going to be being pulled at the top of the search. Does that make sense? So think of the things that make you you. It comes back to the pillar worksheet. So making it very, it doesn't have to be this made up word. It can be straight to the point. Because when you make, what is the word? More of a to the point word on things. I can't remember it. Versus don't be vague about it. That's basically what I'm saying. Don't be vague about your words in that bar with your name. Something like for myself, like for my page, up at the top where your username is, you can change this. And this is a very searchable one as well. So you can revamp that into something that pertains to what makes Reese. Like something that I know a lot about Reese is she loves to garden. She loves to grow things. She loves her animals. And that is very relatable. She's more than Thrive. You have to think you're more than Thrive. Thrive is a part of your lifestyle, but what else is a part of your lifestyle? One thing I would put, like, I love how she talks about, her journey. But I would recommend to you, Reese, is who are you serving? Like who is your person? How are you helping them? What are the things that are you doing that you're going to be showcasing on your page? A lot of things is like, I love at the bottom, you're like, I grow things. You can share things like teaching people or like moms. So homesteading moms, how to grow simple, like keeping the garden simple, because people want a garden, but it's very intimidating because they're like, oh, I just like kill things. Like I buy a plant and it dies. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, how can this be easy? So like mine, I have mine as helping MS moms heal their gut, get their energy back, and reclaim that libido. Because one thing that I found with MS, talking with a lot of MS women, is they have a lot of problems with their libido. And I didn't realize that. So when I did a poll on my story, I realized, okay, I have a huge audience of women who have MS who are struggling in this area. And with HDS, I'm like, that is something that I can use to help these women who I didn't even know that women with MS were dealing with this. And the one thing like at the end that I had on mine was simple, effective swaps. So they're going to know when they come to my page that they're going to find easy, simple swaps. And what that is, here's HDS. Take 2 capsules in the morning, put a patch on at night, versus having to go deal, not saying that I'm not making any medical claims, but I am offering there's another alternative if they want it. Does that make sense? But for you, Reese, like I definitely would like speak to who you're talking to, who you're helping. What kind of mom is she? What is she doing? What are the things that you are going to teach her? And you can implement like you're growing, like your plants and in with Thrive, because you know a lot about herbs. Like I would definitely put something into that about your herbs. Teaching women the things that you've learned even before Thrive and coming into Thrive, and the things that you saw with Thrive that they had in their ingredients that completely blew your mind away. That's how you can kind of intertwine that together. Does that make sense, Reese? Where are you? Oh, there you are. Does that make sense? And the thing is too, we can do like a little bit more in depth as well, but I just want to give you guys a chance to have somewhat of an idea. Yeah, like your endo. What did you mean by your question, Reese? How do you do that? I totally miss it because I can't see the chat, so I'm chatting. You can unpause yourself if you want. Say again.
I kind of figured it out. I meant like, how do you change the name portion, because I am also connected to my Facebook.
Oh,
so
okay.
And I struggle with finding the words. So it has given some difficulty in the past. It made it more difficult, so I gave up on it.
Well, okay, so that's a really good point of like finding words, like finding the words that kind of fit with you, right? So here is my tip for you guys, because this is what I do. I go look at other profiles that relate to my niche area, and I see what words that they are using, and I'll take that word and I'll put it in the thesaurus, and I'll find a different word that fits more to me, and I'll use that word. So that's how I tweak my words when it comes to like my bio or in my captions, and I just can't think of a word. I use that all the time. So I would definitely, and that kind of goes into our section of doing, let me see, it's on my piece of paper. Strategizing and research. So that's where you have to do your research. You have to go out and kind of dig around what your other people that are kind of like doing the same thing as you, like niche wise. So what type of women you're talking to, what they have in their bios, and not meaning copying it, but getting inspiration on how you can word things, how you can put your own words into it and use it as your own. Okay, so what was my, okay, so the other one was is hashtags into like posts and things like that. So with hashtags, everybody's like, okay, it's kind of like dying. Yes and no in a way. That's why you want to use SEO words, like specific words. Meeting, okay, so like say you're like talking about like blue light blocking glasses, okay? So in your caption, you would want to use that word in some way, blue light blocking glasses. Does that make sense? Kathy, your little boy, I just love him. Look. But you have to find a way to insert those words in your caption, because basically what Instagram is doing now is taking certain, they call it key rich captions, and they're putting that into a category. So when someone's typing in blue light blocking glasses, your post is going to pop up. Doesn't mean just because it's not in like your bio area, it's still going to pop up. I'm still learning this, but it's starting to like click on little things that you can do. It doesn't mean that you have to go completely drastic and all these things, because that's not how like learning works. You have to take one step at a time. And the last one with like the hashtags is you have to change them up. So don't use the same ones all the time. Go out before, kind of find new ones, see what other people are using. Some pages don't use them just because they have a very big following and theirs kind of just gets really pushed. But there's some that still use them. So it kind of just depends on the person. But I'm opening my notes because okay. So we did bios. We talked, one thing about stories, I do want to ask you guys, what is something with stories that you don't know what to do, or you're trying, like something, what comes to your mind when you think about stories that, I don't want to say a negative because it's not a negative, because we can always like learn something, right? We can always keep on moving. You're never stuck into something. But when it comes to stories, what is a frustration that you have with it? Drop it in the comments. Anything. Does anybody have anyone? You can unmute yourself if that makes it easier. Anyone? Hey, you're being loud. Sorry, guys.
Hi.
Kat? Okay. Okay. Hi, Chantal. What do you got?
Hi. I just struggle with like what to say because a lot of the don'ts I feel like are kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. Okay. So biggest thing is that to me, there's no wrong way to share what you're talking about. It's just getting on there and just start talking about it. But the thing is, people want to know who you are. So when you go on your stories and you're just talking about Thrive, they're like, well, the next time I see her come on, that's all she's going to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
what else does she do? So talking about like mom life, what are some funny things that have happened? Like, how did yesterday go? What was some kind of frustration that you had? And something like that when that happens. Okay, for an example, like nighttime, my daughter, she sleepwalks. And so she will wake up and she'll turn all the lights on in the house, and we'll wake up and all the lights are on in the house. And she doesn't have any recollection whatsoever. So something that, me sharing that, like, I woke up this morning, walked out, all the lights are on. Has been sleepwalking again. Like, does any other, do you deal with this? Like, do you know a mom that deals with this? Well, what are some tips and tricks? And you can leave a Dropbox or sharing a story like, what is the craziest thing that your kid has done? And that just opens the door, like people get to know you. And it gets you to like getting to know like the people that are watching you and building that connection, because we build connections first. And sometimes there are bold people out there like, okay, like, what are you doing? Like, I want some of that. But majority people, they're not like that. They want to know, like, can they trust you? So this is a way that you can help them learn more about you, more about the behind the scenes. When it comes to like the business, you don't always like, when you're like doing your 3 steps, you can talk about, I always mix it up. So I'll talk about the 3-step, what it does. Next day, doing the vitamin catching challenge and showcasing the community side, like, me and my team do this. Of course, it's optional, but we like to have fun here, laugh a lot. And then I'll catch vitamins, tag everybody, people who do it, share on my story. So it kind of shows like the community side of things and not the like business work, which a lot of people feel, because what we do is not what a corporate job is, like going somewhere, working hours, and then you come home. Showcasing how you work your business. What are the things that you do? And some like you can do like your breaks. So that's how, if you go like on a walk or something, we'll just say like you're on a break and your office area has like a walking path and you're just getting some air. That's a time that you can go on your stories and even like do lives and showcase like, on my walk, like, and kind of just chit chat about like what you're excited about, like what's ahead, you know what I mean? Things like that, people like build that curiosity, like, oh, she has a trip coming up, like what is this trip? And kind of like talk about it. But people don't know what we do here, even though that we share these things, they don't really still understand it until like when, going to Palooza, like, this is our conference and this is what we're doing. And even though that it looks like we're having fun and like going to the VIP party and trainings and then the next day event, and just showing people, I guess in a way, like normalizing the ups and downs of everyday life, and showing them, I'm a human being too. Like I still deal up with ups and downs, but I see the potential where I'm at, and talking about like the things that you have accomplished here. So like your bonuses, to what that actually means. What did it do for your family? Showing those things, like when our team hit 40K, the next day we went and picked up Logan's handmade suits. And so I showcased it like such a victory, like being able to go do that after a huge accomplishment that my team and I did together. So it kind of shows like the gratitude that you have to the excitement to where you're going. But I would just start like getting on there and just, showcasing the behind the scenes, like fun things that you do with your family. When you're in the kitchen cooking, using the polls and just asking like random questions, getting your audience involved. And the thing is, you guys, if your audience doesn't engage, please don't take it personal. Everybody experiences it, and it has nothing against you. It just, people are so hesitant with things because there's so many other people trying to solely just sell to them. So the more consistent that you keep showing up, the more that people are going to trust you. Was that helpful? Okay. Let's see. I think we're okay. Hold on. Getting caught in the number of views. Yeah. So just so you guys know, like the number of views, like when we were at the retreat, like everybody's like views on things, it's just like all over the place. Okay. So I don't pay attention. When Courtney did a call talking about, she doesn't look at her views. She doesn't look at how many people are liking her stuff. She's just being consistent. And that's basically the most important thing of all of it, is just stay consistent with it. The people who do want to connect with you will connect with you. And then you reaching out to people, connecting. And if people don't take it personal. Like your people are out there. It's just, you don't want to stay stagnant. Like keep moving. Super nervous to talk on there. Okay, like the biggest thing I have to tell you guys this. So if you don't know, I was with a prior company, okay? And when I very first started talking on stories, I remember the day because I think I redid the stories over like 30 times, okay? And so on the last one, I was just so irritated and fed up with it. I just hit post. And that was the biggest thing from conference, was just post it, just share it, because people don't want perfection. People want people just to be like human, like to be relatable, because that's what people want. They don't want perfection. So the biggest thing, Kyra, I would just like really encourage you, just do it. Like just record yourself, because you will get better. You will become more confident with it. I used to get so nervous all the time, like sweaty palms, sweaty armpits, like I was sweating everywhere. And everybody goes through it. But in reality, it's kind of like looking back at that and seeing the growth that's happened. It's really cool. So just post, just record yourself, just do it. It will get better, I promise. I struggle with the post more than stories. Okay. I think with the video talking to yourself. Okay. Struggle with posts. Okay, let's get into posting. We're gonna move into content and posting. So with posting, it's basically like since Melissa kind of put it out. So she's a big, huge runner. So we're going to use running. So when you started running, you weren't really good at it, right? But you wanted to be really good at it. So what you have to do? You had to get up and run, right? You had to train. You had to strength train, and you're walking to whatever your training was. You had to take those steps. It's the same thing with content. It's the same thing with posting. Setting timers on your phone. What time of day do you want to post? Biggest thing for me, I don't like to post at the same time. I like to mix it up. And that's the one thing that I found lately. I just been kind of posting randomly, and it's been getting a lot more interaction than I'm like, oh, I need to post at this time. Because that's not how it really is anymore. They've really changed a lot with the algorithm. But posting wise, I would really think about like, what are you feeling that day? Looking at your social media and looking like, okay, I talked about my lifestyle. So I do 2 lifestyles to 1 business. I've definitely been trying to be that consistent with that. So I'm gonna be sure. Look. So it's just like making yourself do it, like your business. And that's the thing, I had to retrain my brain about, why do I need to post? What's the purpose of posting? And the thing is, it's your storefront. It's where people can come and get to know you, where people can get a quick glance of what you're talking about, what you're like, pictures of yourself, things that you're up to. And it kind of starts building that, okay, I'm relatable to her. Like, I definitely want to start following her. It basically posting, thinking as that's how you can get your reach out. Stories is for the people that are already at the table. Okay. Stories don't really go out there. Stories stay where your home base is at. Your post is what reaches people and brings them in. It's your funnel, basically. Okay. So think of it as your funnel. That's how people are going to come into your page. If you're not posting that funnel, it's going to stay empty. I noticed when I am posting more consistent, the more reaches and more people that are coming to my page. The more that I sporadically somewhat post, it's not really going anywhere. So when people like Brock Johnson talks about being consistent, that's really what it means, is being consistent. And it doesn't mean that you have to be this inspiration all the time. Like, it could be like the most random things. And I would have to say, I'm going to go back to my, I'm trying to think which one I did it on. So it was a reel that I did with Logan. And with reels, you have to think about the main content that you want needs to be in the reel, not in the caption. Now, if it's something like, a lot of people are like, oh, sentence starters. Okay, you can put it in there, but sometimes they're like, see caption. And then of course it makes people hit the caption and see, okay, what are some sentence starters or call to action examples? But I had no idea like what to say in my caption. And I did 1 sentence and it said, if your chronic illness has taken a jab at your energy, I can help you get it back. That's all I said. And I got 5 conversations from it. Like, it doesn't have to be really extensive, because in my reel, it kind of gave the content of it. If you haven't seen it's with Nishka. So it's pretty much like me kind of looking around like, okay, when is he like showing up? And then he's with Nishka and I said he's with his second fur wife. So his second wife. Because that's like our joke. Like, I'm the first wife, hit Mishka, she's the fur wife. So, and make it funny. People like relatable funniness. So when you can make it that way, it kind of like lifts the mood of things, and people really want to kind of get to know you a little bit more. But just really figuring out like, what are the things that, you want to talk about, things that someone would absolutely love. Personally, I think a great idea, like, you're an amazing runner, like trail runner, like 100 miles, 50 miles. Like, that's impressive, like absolutely impressive. So I would definitely really showcase on that more, because, and then you can implement Thrive into it, your lifestyle with Thrive, your community with Thrive, and how it's kind of changing the dynamic of your life in running, like what it's doing. That's definitely what I see, Melissa, when like I see your stuff, is like, oh man, like here's this like badass woman like doing these crazy trails. And and when you do that, Melissa, if you can, I've never been to one, but a tip would be, is like, kind of, if you can like do like clippets of videos of like pre-gaming to like when you arrive, like kind of your prep time, like what you do, And then like your race, and then after your race, kind of like talk about it, like your recovery. Those are the things that I think about. Like when I watch your stuff, I'm like, okay, what does she do like pregame? Like, what is it like when you show up? Like, what is it like? What are people doing? And then after, I'm like, okay, people can't walk. Like, what are people looking like? You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that come to my mind. So you have to step out. And the thing is, like, if you need help with these things, like, ask someone. I don't mind helping at all, because it gives you a different perspective of, oh, what are other people thinking about? Because it's kind of hard to do that self audit on yourself, you know? So when you can ask those questions, it really helps. So that's the biggest thing when I see your stuff, Melissa, I'm like, man, she's a badass one. She's out here like running 10 miles and like doing her training stuff. And I loved it because when you're like doing your training, you like your logbook and like you talk about that. I think that's great. It gives so much more input on things. But like when it comes to race days, those are the things that you can make into reels. Those are the things that you can like showcase a little bit more in depth about what you do, and you can showcase Thrive, like whatever that you do. So that's my tip for you on that. I hope that's helpful. Does using our stories as posts hurt us, or would they help? Personally, I wouldn't do that, because it's when it comes to a reel, you're focusing on one thing. So one topic, like what you're talking about. Is it energy? What is this energy doing for you? Like, why should I like pay attention to why energy is so important? Like, I can just go down to the 7-Eleven and grab like a Red Bull. You know what I mean? Like, showcase why. Okay. And then if you guys have questions, whatnot, I'm just gonna look at my notes real quick. It was on here. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the highlights. So everybody know in Instagram, like the bubble thing, like right below your bio. Okay, so if you're not utilizing those, I really encourage you to utilize them. So for example, one of them can be the 3 steps. What are the 3 steps? I have one that I need to revamp. Well, I need to update. It says start here. I have another one talking about MS stuff. I have stuff talking about before Thrive. I have stuff lead retreats. What else do I got on there? I got quite a bit. Like, this just kind of gives you I have things about bonuses, Christmas time, customer reviews, you know, my lashes, hair growth, my podcast, and of course, like my MS stuff and like being a mom. Those are the things that people can like click on. If you have like some kind of weekend fund that's like relatable to your person that would benefit them, then I would definitely put it in a highlight. You could probably, from like other people, they do like books. If you're like a big book reader, that would be a definitely like big niche area that you can really dive into about that. Let's see. And this stuff, like I'm looking at, this is in that that workbook on the Relentless Ambition and the Grace on Fire page. But the second thing I would definitely ask is, when you post something, when you share something, ask yourself, what was that question? Would someone want to read this? Would someone want to keep watching? Like, would I want to watch my stuff? Like, would I want to watch my stories, or am I getting bored of my stories? And don't be afraid to audit yourself. Don't be afraid to critique yourself. It doesn't mean to downgrade yourself, like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good at this. But it gives you an idea of how an area that I can get better at, an area that I can fixate on. And secondly is, when you are sharing about Thrive, please make sure that you have some type of lifestyle in there and not just Thrive. So meaning you have your 3 steps up, you put a bunch of graphics up, and that's it. Like, please don't do that, because basically that kind of just goes to show the person you're just there to sell them something and not really showcasing about your behind the scenes, who you are, what your day is about. And of course, it doesn't mean that you have to share everything, right? Just means that you need to showcase the things that you are comfortable at that time, at this time in your life to talk about. Like, before, like for me, I was always very hesitant about sharing anything like law enforcement wise, just because a lot of things in the country. And now, like, I've grown a lot, that I don't really care anymore. Like, I'm going to talk about it. So growing, making sure that you're not staying stagnant. And the thing is, like, growth isn't always comfortable, right? That's when you're like growing up, you have growing pains, right? And it's really uncomfortable, it's painful, and you don't want to have it. That's growth. Like, you're going to go through it, but it doesn't mean that it's always going to be like that. Okay. Was there anything else? Oh, and the other thing is too, when you do anything about business sides or anything, would you join you? So I always ask that to myself when I do like pain points, like if you aren't doing like pain point stories or like going on your stories and not always doing like a story post, like 4 to 6 slides, like mix it up, like have that courage to get on and share why you love it here. What's something about the community that has inspired you that you've never thought you could do before. Like, those are the things that people need to hear, because there are always bad eggs in every industry. And don't let people who come negative to you just pretty much just like bless and release them and move on. They're not your people. Doesn't mean that you have to give them the time and energy to like let them bring you down. Okay. Because there's always going to be haters out there. That's life, right? People are not going to agree with you, and that's fine. They don't have to agree with you, and you don't have to take what they say to heart to that they have a say into your life. Okay. Because that definitely was me. Definitely like a people pleaser like crazy. And now I'm just at a point in my life that I don't even care. Like, I'm finally having the peace in my life that I need, and it's opening doors that I never thought it would open. And the thing is, like, be consistent, keep moving forward, ask questions, be bold. The worst thing that can happen is what? Honestly, like nothing. Okay, I shared something about something that I love. What's the worst thing that can happen? Someone join you? Like, what if you didn't show up one day and that person that was going to watch your stories and needed to hear what you needed to say, but you were too scared to share what you wanted to say because you were dealing with a previous day where someone wasn't so nice to you about the business because, they said something negative, right? But does anybody else have questions at all? Was this like very helpful in any way? I really hope it was. And lastly, I would just have to say is I'm going to go off of kind of what Laurel talked about on last week with the call with these bonuses. Is pretty much and she talked about like, if you don't want to, the thing is like, if you don't want to go after them, you don't have to. Like, that's the beauty about this business. You can pick and choose like what you want, right? Like why you're here. But if you have this gut feeling within yourself, like you really want to go after it, go for it. What do you have to lose? Like, probably along the way, like I'm gonna share from last year, bonuses dropped. They weren't as big as this, but they were pretty good. I didn't hit any of them. Like, I don't think I hit any bonuses last year. I don't feel like I did. I might have like one, like random one, but not the big ones at all. But I sure as heck learned a lot during those 3 months, which we had double QV for those entire 3 months. And after that, we were burnt out hardcore. And that's the thing. If you are feeling burnt out, just because you take a step back doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're like quitting. Okay. So changing the words around that. It just means you're taking a breather, revamping where you want to go, and then move forward. I do that all the time. We all do that. It just means the words that you can change the meaning of a word, right? So like burnout doesn't have to be like, you know, my hands are clean, I'm backing away. Burnout could be like, okay, I'm doing too much. I need to take a breather. I need to revamp where I'm at. Why am I feeling like this? Making a game plan and moving forward. But I love you all. Thank you for joining me. I know this one was a very longer call, but thank you for sticking with me. And we have, well, in 30 minutes, we have the Monday huddle, which is going to be a really good one because Stacy and a couple of her girls are going to be on it. I know Dara's on it. So Stacy always has some really good stuff to share. So anyways, I love you guys. And if you guys need help with anything, please let me know. I'm always here. So, all right. Love you guys. Bye.